What's up, y'all? We are back again for another edition of Too Busy, Too Busy, Too Busy Tuesday. Hey, too busy,
Hey,
too busy, too busy Tuesday. I am your host, Raffinée Wilson. I'm so glad that you are joining us, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching the replay, or if you're listening to us. Thank you so much for being here. Let me turn off my email so it's not beeping the whole time we're talking. So, y'all, if this is your first time tuning in, here's what Too Busy is. It's my series where I get to share something that I no longer have time or energy for. So, when it comes to something that I don't have time or energy for, to that, I always say too busy. Now, this season on Too Busy, I have invited some special guests to come and share some things that they also are too busy for. Now, the beautiful thing about all of this, and the disclaimer that I always give, is that just because I'm too busy, and I'll add, just because my guest is too busy, does not mean you also have to be too busy for it. So you get to decide and you get to choose. You get to choose. So we're just sharing some of the things that we have seen in our own life that we're like, you know what? Time out for this. No more energy, no more time. Okay. So I'm going to jump straight in and introduce our special guest for tonight. Her name is Jeri-Ashley, and she is a mama to multiples. Y'all, she has a baby, a toddler, and a preteen. Can we just pause there for a second and say, my? A baby, a toddler, and a preteen. Jeri-Ashley is a parent coach. She's a small business owner, a full time educator, and community advocate. She holds her Bachelor of Arts degree in sociology from St. Mary's University and a Master of Science in Education from Johns Hopkins University. Jeri-Ashley has worked with school age children, parents, and educators for over 10 years, focusing on providing each with the tools to be more mindful in creating strong, healthy relationships while also maximizing each individual's strengths. She is passionate about building community and empowering others to be more intentional in their everyday interactions with themselves and others through her business, the Mindful Co. LLC. Would y'all help me give it up for Miss Jeri-Ashley? Yes, I am so excited you're here.
thank you for having me. I am so excited to be joining you. It was great connecting with you a couple of months back. I feel like we really kicked it off. And so I'm excited to be joining you in this conversation today.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember this. I thought about this the other day, but when we met, then you and I scheduled a call, and during that call, I said, "Hey, Jeri-Ashley, I'm going to be having guests during my next series of Too Busy when it starts back up, and I'm going to have you on." You were actually the first person that I told that to. You were my first unofficial guest to Too Busy.
Hey, yes, I do remember that because I remember I was like, yes, I would love to continue talking with you. And yeah, we just sparked I don't know, the spark was huge. I remember calling my husband afterwards and saying, hey, I just like got the phone with Raffinée. She is phenomenal.
Oh,
I said
wow.
our conversation just kept going. We scheduled 30 minutes. I think we chatted for almost an hour.
We did. Yeah, it was really cool. So we gonna jump into our topic for tonight. So when I talked with you about this, I was like, Jeri-Ashley, what are you too busy for? And there were multiple things that came up, and then this one like really jumped out at you. So you said to me that, you know what, Raffinée, I'm realizing that I'm too busy for mom guilt. And I was like, yes, the people
Mm-hmm.
need to hear about this. So tell me a little bit about what you mean when you say mom guilt. Let's just kind of set a baseline definition for everybody that's tuning in.
So when I think about mom guilt, I think about this weight on our shoulders of should.
Mm,
I should be doing this. I should have done that. I I should have spent more time here. I should have made a different meal. I should have it. It's oftentimes paired with shoulds. And that to me, it's taken a while, but it just blew my mind that there's so much that we do, yet we feel guilty because we think we don't do enough. And
yeah.
that's, if you've ever met a mama, you know that that's not true. We go above and beyond, but still there's this weight and this heaviness of I I could have, I should have done more.
Yeah, that's so good. So, you know, I hear a lot of that in my work as a therapist. Like, I should do this, I ought to do this. And I'm like, There's this phrase in the therapy world that's like, don't should all over yourself. And it's basically just trying to communicate that, like, you can put, like what you're describing, all these pressures on yourself to do, be, perform, and it likely isn't giving proper attention to what actually is being done. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's very true with moms too, like not giving proper attention to all the things that you are doing as a mom to show up for your kids, whatever age they are. So
Yes.
tell us a little bit about how you've seen mom guilt impact you, as a mom, as a woman, as just a person in general.
I think one of the heaviest moments I felt. So I had my toddler. She's almost 2.5. I had her right before the pandemic hit. So I had her Thanksgiving week 2019, and a few
Okay.
months later, the pandemic hit. I work in education full time, and when that happened, we were working from home, and we were panicking. How are we going to, when all this is going on? Because it wasn't just at that point about educating them. It was the communities that I work in are vulnerable communities. They are communities that need support. They're communities that, if they don't send their kids to school, they might not have childcare to then go into work. And some of our parents were still required to go into work.
Yeah.
um, and so there's just this heaviness from all of that. And at that time I was still nursing my toddler, and I have pictures of me like feeding her while I'm on a Zoom call. I have, I was
Mm.
nursing, I was pumping in meetings with my cameras off. And I remember, and I'm like, I might tear up, but I remember this moment. It felt incredibly heavy, where I was like, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep tending to her and doing my job to its fullest. It was just too much to juggle, both, having a newborn at home in the midst of a pandemic, which just required so much of us as educators. And after that, I was just full of guilt. Like, I should have been able to nurse her more. I should have been able to handle
Mhm.
this. I should have been able to, all these other things. And if you have young kids and you've had young kids recently, you might have heard of baby-led weaning. So I was also doing baby-led weaning with her at that time. And that in and of itself consumes so much time and effort and energy. But I still had this guilt and this heaviness of, I should have been able to do more for her and I couldn't.
Yeah.
And so it started there and just kind of continued to spiral. Like, I should have I should have done this. I just, all these shoulds started coming up for me, and I started shitting all over myself. Um, and it took a while to get out of that, but it's this heaviness of becoming a new mama, and it just spirals. It's like society just keeps putting it on us, and it feels like it's never ending from the time that they're born to, even afterwards. Like, you should have done that. Well, if you would have done
Mhm.
this, it would have turned out differently. And
Mhm.
um, I just don't have time for that anymore. I don't have time for that energy.
Yeah, that's really, really good. Thank you for sharing that and being like vulnerable with us. To I could picture you in my mind as you're describing, like, being on Zoom meetings and having your camera off and trying to nurse a baby and trying to take care of a smaller one. Like, I can literally picture all of that. Now, when we talked about this, one of the things that came up was sometimes doing things because I value it and it means a lot to me versus something that I learned. So can you
Mm-hmm.
talk to us a little bit about that? Like, share with the people what your thoughts are about that.
Yeah, so I have so many thoughts about that, because the way that we were brought up, whether it was the specific culture, or like our cultural background. Maybe it was you were brought up in church. Maybe it was you were brought up, in a specific type of community. And so all of these different components of our lives play a role in shaping, our values and what we see and what we've normalized.
Yeah.
Um, so one thing that I've seen a lot is big birthday parties. I remember growing
Mhm.
up, we'd always, and I loved it. My mom's side of the family, she's the youngest of 8 kids. We'd always go to birthday parties. And as I got older into my teen years and we'd have birthday parties, you know, for whoever, they'd make us help clean up. And I remember hating, I don't want to have to help clean up. So that was something that was normalized. So when I had my kids, I was like, I'm not going to do the big birthday parties. I remember telling my husband, I'm not going to do that. To me, that's ridiculous, because in my eyes, because it's for the adults and I don't want to do that for the adults. As they get older, I'm like, okay, you know, yeah, I can see that. First birthday party, they're not going to remember it. It's for the photos. It's for the grown-ups. It's a show. To me, it's a show. And you might view it differently. Some people really enjoy doing that and they put on these like phenomenal things. But I decided that's not for me. You know, and so it kind of started with that. And there have been different things that have come up. So for Christmas, I was like, we're not going to get the kids a lot of gifts. They don't need a lot of gifts, especially again, right now, there's so little, they're not going to remember anyway. And getting a lot of gifts, I don't think is very meaningful or purposeful. I thought I would rather my kids have an experience or have something more memorable, like the tradition. So I started reshaping and reframing some of those like very surface level things that we as a society have grown to value. And I just didn't feel like I had the time or the energy for that. And now that I am like fully in motherhood, like I said, I have 2 under 3. I have come to realize the importance of getting very clear on what you were maybe brought up with, the things that you've seen on social media, and if that really aligns with what you're willing to put the time and effort in for. And the really great thing about some of the conversations I've seen coming up more and more is this really necessary? Like, is this something that I really want to do as a mother? Like, I see all these moms doing it, but you know what? I don't think that's for me, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Now, Jeri-Ashley, let's say this. There's a mama out there watching, and they're like, well, how do I really find out if this is aligned with what I believe or what's important to me? Because I think the point that you're making is a great one, in that you don't have to do exactly what Jeri-Ashley is saying, as much as ensure that the things that you are doing are meaningful to you, and not just, I'm doing this because that's what I grew up seeing, or because that's what the culture says is acceptable. So how would somebody go about figuring out, like, is this actually meaningful or impactful or valuable for me, and not just what I've been ingesting?
I love that. So one of the biggest things that has helped me get clear on a lot of my decisions in life, and specifically in my parenting, is getting clear on my personal values as well as what our family values is. Because my husband, there's some values that we don't hold that are the same, and that makes sense because we are 2 completely different people. But what are our family values? And so 3 of our core family values, which are also very present in my parenting coaching, is connection, communication, and collaboration. So when I think about connection, at birthday parties, at Christmas, toys and gifts like that doesn't really build a connection. So for example, what I encourage my family to do is to think of maybe an activity that they would like to take the kids to go do, especially now that they're getting older. So last Christmas, I encouraged my in-laws. I said, hey, you know, my preteen Mia, she really wants, she was looking to revamp her wardrobe. I think it'd be really fun if maybe instead you all took her to go shopping and to go eat. Something my parents like doing, you know, they want to do things, get things for the kids. And I always tell them, please do not buy anything. But if you want, you can come hang out with them at the house and do some crafts, or you could take them somewhere. So they really like taking them to the train at the zoo here, where where I live. And so it's that connection piece right there. So I really have started to use those values to guide what it is that makes the most sense for my family. And that's what's important, is what makes sense for your family, what is feasible for your family. And what I would encourage you to do is just Google a list of values, core values. And I start off by circling everything that, yep, I love this. This makes sense to me. This is great. And then I narrow it down to 10. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you're like, I have like 50 things circled, just start narrowing it down little by little. Get your top 10. And from that 10, see if you can find themes. And
Mm,
those themes are going to be your top core values.
yeah. I love that. I actually I have a core, a not core values, what is it called? It's called a values card sort that I use
Mm.
sometimes in my work as a therapist. So I will drop a link for anybody watching the replay, so y'all can check that out and kind of do this exercise that Jeri-Ashley's recommending. I think values is so important, and to the point that you're making, our values naturally tend to drive our decision making. So if I value, let's say, family, and I've got two little ones, I may opt to work a certain job or not work a certain job because family is so important to me. If I value honesty, I may see that show up in my parenting potentially. For you, you talked about communication and collaboration. So that
Mm-hmm.
likely is impacting how you are parenting and raising your kids, which reminds me of this post you posted the other day about like cleaning up the environment and making it better
Yes.
than what you than what it was before you got there. Can you
Mm-hmm.
share with just a little bit about that with the people that are watching or listening?
Yeah. So one of something I value is gratitude and appreciation. And for me, one way that I do that is by honoring the spaces that I'm in. And I honor the spaces that I'm in by keeping them better, by making them better than how I found it. So if we are out at a restaurant, we throw all our trash away, and if there's trash on the table next to us, then maybe we'll pick that up as well. Not if it's a sit down restaurant, but even at a sit down restaurant, I try to make sure that I make it easy for the server or the busboy to come pick up the stuff. So that's something that we do here at home. I narrate it with my daughter. Okay, we're done with dinner. Let's throw our
Mm.
trash away. Oh no, we spilled our cup. That's okay. Accidents happen. Let's clean it up together. And that's me narrating for my toddler, and I do for my
Mhm.
preteen as for our preteen as well. Um, so we were out and about, and she saw some trash on this side of the road. She said, "Mama, trash." I said, "Yes, baby." Sometimes people just throw their trash on the ground. It's not something that we should do. We should take care of we should take care of our land. We should take care of our spaces. And so she started picking. Once we got to our destination, she started picking up trash and throwing it in the ground. But it just goes to show that when you are guided by your values, it shows up in the way that you parent. It shows up in little moments with your kids, and they start to pick up on that as well.
Mhm. That's good. Now, one of the things I hear, I've got a lot of people in my space that are mamas, and a consistent theme that I hear coming up is taking care of yourself and
Mm-hmm.
feeling some of that mom guilt for prioritizing your needs, for doing something for you, for, choosing to do an activity that you enjoy and your kids have a need, or for letting your kids watch a little extra screen time than maybe what you would want them to do. So, I would like for us to talk a little bit just about what have you found is the importance of identifying your needs, one, but then also ensuring that your needs are getting met. And I would imagine maybe some tension happens there with that, like mom guilt to even
Mm-hmm.
pursue getting your needs met sometimes.
Whew. Yes, it does. So that's probably one of the biggest things as mamas we feel guilty about is tending to our own needs. Um, and it blows my mind because we tend to the needs of everyone else in the household, and sometimes even people outside of the household, because that's who we are as mamas. We're givers. We give,
Yeah.
we give, we give, and then we forget to give to ourselves. And it to be perfectly honest, it is a complete mindset shift. You
Okay.
have to shift your mindset to to believing that you are important, that your needs are important. And I had a moment the other day and I was feeling a little guilty and I was feeling kind of sad and upset. I was in my toddler's room. We were getting ready for bedtime. And I said, Mama's going to step out because I need some time for myself. And she said, she asked me, because I had said something about being frustrated or angry. She said, Mama's angry. I said, yes, Mama is feeling a little angry right now because I didn't take time that day to fill my cup at the beginning of the day like I typically do. And so I said, yes, Mama is feeling a little angry right now. I said, sometimes you feel a little upset and angry, when you're whatever, when you've had a long day or when you don't want to go to bed and you want to play more. And I said, it's important that we take care of ourselves, that we listen to our body. So there's this song that we listen to on YouTube, and it talks about like it's called Healthy Bodies. It's about like taking care of ourselves as our body, our bodies. We brush our teeth, we wash our face, we wash our hands, we get sleep. And so a lot of what guides our conversations is like we listen to our bodies, and we're also potty training right now. So I wouldn't say potty training, but we're doing the potty thing. And so we listen to our body. So that's another thing. Mama's listening to her body, and her body saying, please take care of me. I need rest. I need water. I need to eat. I need a break. And so I try not to feel guilty about those times, but it's hard because, sometimes I leave her room and she's crying and I want to be there for her, but I also got to be there for me. So when I think about that, I think to the moments when I'm angry and I'm frustrated, and I think to myself, if you would have prioritized yourself today, like you had been doing, this is less likely to have happened. And when we start to prioritize ourselves, we see that we are more able to show up and show up a little fuller, a little more in a way that we want to show up, versus showing up and being frustrated and resentful and overwhelmed and overstimulated.
That point you make of like having an empty cup, I think is right in line with this, because if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not filling up your cup as a mom, like what are you going to have to pour out to your kids and to the people in your home and to the people maybe even outside of your home? Like I think it's one of those things that again gets exacerbated sometimes in the culture. Like you give to other people because it's the right thing to do, it's the Christian thing to do, it's the kind thing to do. And it's like it's also kind and very loving to take care of yourself, to ensure that you are refueled and refreshed and that you are engaging in things that maybe even nourish your soul, I would say. And not just like I took care of everybody else and so we good. And it's like, but then you get nothing. And I think leads to more maybe burnout, resentment to the point you were describing, frustration, all these other things. And then more should on yourself, like I shouldn't have yelled at them, I should have done this. Like it's kind of this like
it is a cycle. It is a vicious, never-ending cycle. And it's it's absurd because society puts so much pressure on us, right? Sometimes it's our job, sometimes it's the laws that are passed that don't prioritize mothers. Like, let's be honest, they don't prioritize mamas at all. And so it's this cycle of like, I have things that I want to do and I should have done this, but I yelled because I'm tired and exhausted, but I have to do this for the kids. And it's this hamster wheel of guilt and shame and letting fear guide our parenting. Like if I would have just done this, then this wouldn't have happened. And it's this vicious cycle that can be stopped. That is the thing. It can be stopped because we can pause. We can say, you know what, instead, just take out the should. Instead of I should have, how about I have done this today? And you list everything that you've done. Don't focus on the should. Focus on the I have done this today.
Yeah.
You know, getting the kids up and ready for school is no easy feat. Getting lunches packed, not
Yeah.
easy. Getting those kids out the door, I don't care how old they are, I don't care if they're 18 years old, it's still not easy. If anyone says,
Yeah.
oh, it's easier as they get teenagers, no, that is that that is a lie, right? It is a completely different battle when they're toddlers, when they're little. The battle is like, I want to wear this, I want to do everything myself, right? And then they hit the preteen and the teenager stage, and it's a new battle.
Yeah.
It's something different. It's, I don't want to go, I'm tired,
Hmm.
I'm this, I'm that, whatever it is. And we have to take out the shoulds, and let's validate everything that we do,
Hmm.
and build off of that. But again, it's a complete mindset shift. It's reframing, and it takes work. Like, this mindset shift did not happen overnight.
Yeah. That's good. Y'all, Jeri-Ashley done giving y'all an activity. So make sure y'all go and do your activity. Okay. So you're identifying what you have done. So I have fill in the blank. I love that. I think that's wonderful. It's tangible and it focuses on what has been accomplished and not so much on the all the laundry list of things that haven't been, because that naturally impacts our mood and just our outlook and perspective overall. Like if I'm
Mm-hmm.
only focusing on the things that I haven't done, I'm probably gonna feel crappy about myself, versus lifting myself up, affirming myself, and really highlighting, like, okay, here's the areas that have gone well today, and really kind of
Mm-hmm.
leaning into that gratitude. Now, okay, we're almost out of time, so we're gonna have you come back. But I want to ask you this question. So, for the mom out there that is struggling, that is really having difficulty with mom guilt, what encouragement would you give to them, or a practical tip maybe that you have found helpful in managing some mom guilt?
The biggest piece of advice I can give is give yourself grace. Give yourself
Mm,
grace, because there's so much you do. There's so much you do that goes unnoticed, that goes unappreciated, that is overlooked.
mhm,
Give yourself grace, because you are doing things that people don't even realize, that keep the house running, that keep life running, that keep little people kind and loved and
yeah,
compassionate. Those are huge things. If all you did, right? Some people say, like, if all I did today was this. No, teaching a child to share, to be kind in their communication, those are all big things. Give yourself grace and give yourself credit for all that you have done.
mhm. I love it. That's so great. Give yourself some grace. I agree with that. Be kind, be gentle with yourself. Now, my question I'm asking all my guests that come on this season is, tell me, what is something that you were previously too busy for that you're like, you know what? I have time or energy for this now. I'm available for this now.
Whew, I was too busy to enjoy my kids. I was too busy to enjoy my
Mm,
kids, because honestly, like, I let mom guilt, I let the shoulds get in the way of being present in the moment and enjoying life with them. So I used to be too busy for that, but now I'm like, yes, let's go on a walk. Yes, let's paint and get all messy. Yes, let's climb on this tree. Yes, my
yeah.
preteen, let's play, was it Dance Dance Revolution or
Oh
whatever it
yeah.
is. Like, yes, let's cook something and mess it up and try and fix it. Yes, we'll do it.
Yeah. That's so good. Being present. I love that. Now, Jeri-Ashley, let the people know, where can they find you? Do you have anything coming up that if people are like, yes, I want to know more about you and what you got going on, share with us what you got.
So you can find me on Instagram and Facebook and my name is there, at Jeri the Mindful Mama. And that is my website, jerrythemindfulmama.com. I do
Okay.
have some things coming up in the San Antonio area on the 23rd. I have an in-person workshop partnered with a nonprofit here called Empower House. And when you go to my Instagram, there's a link in my bio that has some of my upcoming events. I have an in-person 3-week coaching series that's coming up in the San Antonio area as
Nice.
well, out of out of a friend's studio called the Mindfulness Collective. So a lot of
Okay.
alignment there. And I actually will be having, and I'm super, super excited about this, my first group coaching session of the year. Right now, you can get
Yes.
on the list. So if you go to the link in my Instagram bio, you can sign up to get on the list. I'm going to be sharing a special code that you can use if you choose to sign up. And I do have a few one-on-one spots that I will be opening. So my group coaching is my big thing that I'm sharing, because building community is so important. And
Absolutely.
but if the one-on-one would work for you and that feels more comfortable and more aligned with your needs, let me know. You can also get on the list for that through the link in my bio.
Sweet. Okay, so y'all follow her Facebook, Instagram, Jeri the Mindful Mama. If you're listening, it's Jeri the Mindful Mama. So her first name is Jeri, Jeri the Mindful Mama, and all this information will be linked wherever you're watching or if you're listening. And I just want to say thank you so much again, Jeri-Ashley, for being here with us today. This was incredible, and I'm gonna be sharing it with everybody because everybody needs to hear this. And thank you all so much for tuning in to Too Busy Tuesday. As always, we'll be back here next week at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. Peace.